Hi, welcome. I'm Kathleen Jasper with NaviEd, and I'm so excited that you're here with us today for our How to Study for the Praxis Core webinar. Now, this thing is 3 big sections, and we're going to be talking about the math, the writing, and the reading. I'm actually going to work backwards. There is a study plan that goes with this webinar. So you're going to want to download that, and it's in the descriptions wherever you're watching this. And if you're live on Zoom, it is in the chat, okay? But again, don't worry about downloading this and printing it out right this second. I'd rather you be engaged with the webinar and then worry about that later. I'm going to project everything up on my screen. So it's going to be fine, even if you don't have the study plan in front of you. Some people like the study plan. Some people just want to use the video. Some people want to use the both of them at the same time. So just remember that it's all good. However you want to do that is fine, okay? So I'm just pulling up some of my documents here. It seems that they closed. I must have closed them. So hang on one second. I'm going to pull them up in just a second. There we go. Gotta love that. Reopen everything from before. Okay. All right. So this is not going to be focused on math problems or writing problems or essay. I have a bunch of webinars that do that. Okay. What this is going to do is focus on how to use the book. Now, you guys know I've been like plugging this book for the last couple of weeks. We are going to be using our brand new NaviEd bright pink. I love pink. Study guide, Praxis course study guide for this thing. And I realized that when you get this book, it's huge. You know, it's like, I think this thing is, what is it? It's close to 500 pages. You get this and you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to break it down. Now you may have the physical book. You may have the digital book. I'm going to post the digitals up here because it's easier for me to present that way. And I'm also going to present the individual subtests, and that will become clearer in a minute. So I'm going to show you how to navigate this test, how to study for it, and all of that. If you're commenting on Facebook or in the chat, I'm going to look at comments in between each section. I can't answer comments while I'm presenting because I have ADD, and I will be off in La La Land. The other thing is I'm going to try to keep this to under an hour, but like you guys, I am a public school teacher and I don't like to end things until everything has been covered. So it could go over. It usually goes over. So if you can't attend for any longer than an hour, fine. You can just come back and watch the replay and you'll get all the information. So don't worry about that. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm going to share my screen. Let me make sure I got the right stuff going on here. All right. I'm going to share screen and go through a little presentation, and then we're going to hop into the book. All right, here we go. So this is how to study for the Praxis Core. This is one of our webinars. Many of you are using our webinars, and we're so grateful that you do. We love our free webinars. They're just as good as our paid webinars. Our paid ones are much bigger, but you can get a lot out of the free resources we have here at NaviEd. So we're really happy you're here. Now, remember, just like in the classroom, we want to start with objectives. It's really important because it helps to guide instruction and helps you all know what you're responsible for and what I'm responsible for this presentation. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to review the structure of the exam. And that's going to play out in the table of contents, really. I'm not going to go through the study companion because the book mirrors the study companion. So there's no sense of doing it twice. I'm going to do it once. Then I'm going to review the structure of the study guide in terms of practice tests and where the answer explanations and all of that, all of the resources in the book that can help you. The third thing we're going to do, I'm going to show you how to measure your strengths and weaknesses in each subtest. This is key. Just like as a teacher, you do this with your students, right? You're going to measure where they are right now, and then you're going to teach, and then you're going to measure where they are after the lesson. Well, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to show you how to do that for yourselves in the book. The fourth thing we're going to do is evaluate strategies to strengthen skills in all areas. So I'm going to show you kind of how to hone in on those strategies. And then I'm going to show you how to use the NaviEd study guide to think like a test maker. I often say this. Think like a test maker, not a test taker. That's really, really important because if you are not being strategic, you're going to get bogged down, time's going to run out, and you're going to feel overwhelmed. So you got to put that test maker brain in your head. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we're going to, at the end, I'm going to show you some additional resources, free and paid, that you can use along with this webinar and with your book. Or maybe you didn't buy the book. Maybe you have your own study guide that you bought already and you're on a budget. Either way, I'm going to show you some other helpful resources that you can use along with this. Okay. So I'm always about using multiple resources to get there. All right. So let's just talk about the study guide very, very quickly. All right. Now, this pretty much goes for any study guide out there. So if you went to the library and you checked out a study guide, totally fine. If you bought another company's study guide before you found NaviEd, totally fine. It's all good. Obviously, we recommend our resources, but there are lots of resources out there and you may already have one. But typically in all study guides, all content categories should be covered. So maybe before purchasing a study guide, you want to make sure of that. Our book goes in the order of the study companion, and I'm going to show you that in a minute. There are also several areas that contain practice test questions. We don't just have the practice tests at the end. We have incremental practice tests that are very important in measuring your skills. And I'm going to show you how to use those effectively in a second. And then we have the full practice tests here with these answer explanations, guys. The answer explanations are like a whole other book inside of the book. And I recommend, even when you get something correct, I would still look at the answer explanations because there might be something in there that even gives you more insight. So we work really hard on the answer explanations. I think this is an area where most books fall short. And we want to make sure you really understand why you got something correct and why you got something incorrect. So really take a look at those. I'm going to show you how to use those pre and post tests in the book, just like you would as a teacher for your students. You got to do the same for yourself. We often forget about that when we're talking about ourselves. And then I'm going to show you how to use the essay prompts in the writing and the reading prompts. Okay. All right. So let me stop sharing really quickly. I'm just going to make sure I've got my study plan up here. All right, and I am actually going to work a little bit backwards today. I'm going to start with math today because it is the biggest section. And then I'm going to go to writing, and then I'm going to go to reading. Only because math is so big, and I have a feeling a lot of you are here because of math. And that is from our data. We are a data-driven company, just like I tell you to be a data-driven person in your classroom. We looked at the data, and math is where it's at. That's why we do so many math things, but we're going to cover everything today. So don't worry. Now I will go into the chat in just a minute after the math. Okay. So talk to each other, help each other on Facebook, help each other on YouTube. That's all good. I'll get in there in a minute and I'll answer what I can. All right. So let's get started. Again, let me just, my whole operation shut down right before I went live, of course. So I want to make sure I'm in the right spot here. Okay. I don't like to share a bunch of stuff and not be able to see it. Okay, here we go. So this is the study plan here. Let me close this out. This is a PDF document. Again, I'm starting with the math, but it does start with, it goes in order: reading, writing, and math. Now, this is a download that goes with this webinar. It's in the chat if you're on Zoom, and it's in the description on YouTube, in Facebook, all of that. Don't worry about it right now. You can get it later. Let's just talk about it. Okay. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. So we're going to start with math, and I'm going to show you how to take the pre-test and post-test. And then I'm going to show you a suggested study plan. Now this is suggested. It may take you longer. It may take you less time. This is just suggested based on what we know, okay? Now let's just break down the book really quickly so you can see what's going on. So you guys may have the full book, which is all the subtests, or some of you may have just purchased one digital piece, either the math or the writing or the reading. That's fine. I'm not going to talk too much about page numbers because depending on which thing you bought, it's going to be different page numbers. I'm going to talk more in sections and all of that. So you may just want to watch this video and then go back and watch it again and try to find the page number, because I'm going to move pretty quickly in terms of that. I'm going to use the table of contents here. Now this is the full book, and then I'm going to get into the sections of the book. Okay. So notice that it goes in the order of the study companion. Your first subtest is going to be reading. Your second subtest is going to be writing, and your third subtest is going to be math. This is a beast of a test. This is huge. It takes several hours to complete, and it's going to take you several weeks to study for it if you're going to do it properly, okay? So let's just get that out of the way right now. It's a beast, and we just got to settle in and work on our skills, and that's okay, all right? Now with the reading, there are 3 main content categories assessed on pretty much every reading test: key ideas and details, craft and structure, and integration of knowledge and ideas. And then our study guide has 2 full practice tests with answer explanations, okay? So most reading tests, whether it's ACT, SAT, GRE, FTCE, Praxis Core, whatever test you're taking, if it is a reading comprehension test, it is always going to cover these skills right here, all right? So that's really, really important. And then of course we have the practice test here. Writing is a little bit different. For writing, you start with these essays. You're going to have an argumentative essay right here, writing arguments. And then you're going to have what people like to call the source-based essay. However, it's really called the explanatory text, but most people call it source-based, and I'll show you why in a minute. And then you have a big multiple choice test, A, B, C, and D, on grammar skills, like where do you put the comma, is this the right word, who and whom, pronoun antecedent agreement, things like that, okay? And then finally, after you're totally fatigued and your brain is about to fall out of your head, you get hit with the math. And the math, and most math, standardized math tests assess these 3 things, and you'll see them here: numbers and quantity, data interpretation, stats and probability, normally called probability and stats. That's going to be your graphs. How many, if there are 18 marbles in a bag, what's your probability of choosing a blue marble? Those types of questions. And then algebra and geometry. Almost every single standardized math test, unless it's like a standardized calculus test or a high level test, are going to assess these 3 things. I say that because you can go out into the internet if you need more information, and even use practice tests for other tests like ACT, SAT to help if you want more practice test questions. Now we have a lot. We have 3 practice tests here with answer explanations, and we have practice problems in between each thing here. That's really important too. Notice for numbers and quantity, we have numbers and quantity practice problems just for numbers and quantity. Then we have data interpretation, representation, and statistics. Then we have practice problems just for that. And then we have algebra and geometry. And then we have practice problems just for those questions. So really, all in all, we have a ton of practice problems here. The same goes for writing. In the multiple choice section, look here, we have grammatical relationships, and then we have practice problems just for grammatical relationships. Then structural, just problems for structural, then word choice, mechanics, and then research skills, all the same thing, practice problems that are just for that. And then we have 2 full practice tests here. So you're talking hundreds of practice problems, all right? And then reading's a little bit different because they're reading passages, not just, random problems. We have 2 full reading practice tests here, and I'm going to talk more about how you can do that. Now, I want to have a quick conversation about practice tests and things like this. This is very important when you're studying for a test like the Praxis Core, all right? There are 2 types of tests when it comes to FTCE, or I should say Praxis. Sorry, I'm from Florida, so we talk a lot about FTCE. When it comes to Praxis Core or anything, Florida tests, Texas has its own tests, things like that. The skills-based test, like the Praxis Core, is about your skills. You cannot memorize test questions and content and think you're going to do well. It just isn't going to happen because it's a skills test. You don't know what reading passage you're going to get. You don't know what math problems you're going to get. It could be assessed in many, many different ways, okay? Now, a content area test or a subject area test like the social science test or the science test or let's say even the special education test, that's content driven. And you can memorize, what is an atom? What's an electron? What are the first 10 amendments of the US Constitution? Those are things you can memorize and then regurgitate them on an exam. But this is a different test. You have to practice the skills. And I get so many emails from people and they're like, I've taken the test 6 times and I have every study guide out there and I've done everything. Well, you're probably not studying the skills. So today I'm really going to show you how to do that and measure your skills. All right. So I just want to be clear on that. Memorizing practice test questions is not going to help you on this exam or really any exam because you never know what exam you're going to get. There are large item banks with tons of items in the item banks. There are different forms of the exam. And I often hear people say, well, why don't they just give the same form of the test? Well, that would be really ridiculous, wouldn't it? Put yourself as a teacher. Would you give the same test over and over again to your first period, second period, third period? By the time lunch rolls around, fifth period's getting 100%. Why? Because everybody talked to everybody about the test. It's just a natural thing that people do. So there are different forms for test security and there are different forms for test reliability. And that's just the way it is. No one's going to give the same test over and over again. And you shouldn't either as a teacher if you want really good, reliable exams. So that's my little pep talk on the test. We want to work on skills, not just practice tests. Practice tests are amazing to measure your skills, but you got to get the skills down first in order to be successful. All right. Okay. Lecture over. Let's get in here. Let me just make sure I am on track with my presentation. Break down the book. Okay, we are going to start with math right now. And let me go to my study plan. Here's how I suggest you should do the math, okay? I suggest taking the first practice test cold, like just take it. Now, if you've already started looking at the book, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. But I recommend if you just get this book or any other study guide out there, take one of the math practice tests completely cold and see how you do. Now, let's go to the math. So here's the math book. This is the digital guide. You guys might have the physical. It's fine. Notice here we have practice tests 1, 2, and 3. What I would do is take this first practice test here. This one has... I always forget how many questions because I work in so many tests. This has 56 questions. And it has very detailed answer explanations here. Now notice in this third column here, it tells you what content category. Now this is really important because that will tell you, what you're good at and what you need more help with. So what I would do is I would take this first practice test here, cold, grade it, score it. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. You could score it and not look at the answer explanations at all. Just get a score and figure out where you're low. If you missed a bunch of questions in content category 1 and you were good in content category 2 and 3, you really got to work on 2 and 3. Or maybe it's algebra and geometry that killed you, which is mostly how people are. That's usually what kills them. Sorry for the scroll. Here we go. Usually 3 is where people really get messed up on algebra and geometry. Some of you may not have seen anything about algebra and geometry since 1996. You might be coming back into the teaching world after being out there in a different career. So algebra and geometry might kick your butt. Totally fine. You are not alone. Trust me, we get calls all the time. So you could score this practice test, but not look at the answer explanations. And then what you would do is, and let me go into my study companion or my study guide here or plan, score it. Time yourself when you take the test. Don't set it for any particular time. Just see how long it takes you to get through it. It could take a while, especially if you haven't done this math in a while. All right. So how long did it take you to finish? And then decide what questions stumped you the most. Maybe the whole thing was a blur. Fine. That's fine. There's nowhere to go but up. Maybe there's one section that you really need to focus on. That's fine too. Put that all in right here. This is your baseline. This is where you're starting. All right. Now, these next 2 weeks here, and you might want to break it up into 3 weeks. This is a quick plan because a lot of people want to get through this and try to take the exam. So this is a quick plan, right? Monday, you're going to do the first section of the book and then the practice problems, Tuesday and on down. I'm going to talk about this in just a second. Now, one big thing I want you to think about here is now we're going to be sharpening those skills based on our data. We're being data driven in our approach, right? So let's go into the math. So let's say I took my practice test and now it's my Monday. And remember, we're not doing all of this in one shot. All right. We're breaking this up day by day because incremental practice over longer periods of time is so much better than cramming this whole thing in on a weekend. All right. It's just like running. You can't just go out from being on the couch for 6 months and then go out and run a marathon. You gotta build up that endurance. And that's what this plan does. Okay. So let's say it's Monday based on my study plan here. Monday, I've already done my practice test 1. I've got my baseline. Monday, I'm going to go through my numbers and quantity, and maybe it's Monday and Tuesday. This is a pretty big section. There's a lot going on here. There are some example problems in here for you, which are good. Do those. They support the skills. Another thing I want you to notice is, sorry for the scroll, at the top of each heading, this is the test specification here. All of these are from the study companion. They are the specific skills in the study companion. And notice that we hit every single one of them. So we do not leave out anything in this situation here. So remember that so you want to do everything in the book because we cover everything that's on the test. All right. So you're going through and you're like, okay, I'm doing good. I'm working through this. I'm working through these little example problems here. And then let me scroll down. I hate scrolling on live, but it's unavoidable right now. Then we're going to do our numbers and quantity practice problems. These are just for numbers and quantity. There are 10 here. And of course, the answer explanations here. Now, a couple of things. If you get between a 70 and an 80, or a 70 and an 80, you're doing good. You've got the skills down. However, I want you to be careful. You may have guessed on like number 4 and 5, and you got them correct, but you didn't really know why you got them correct. That's why it is so important for you to evaluate your incorrect answers. Why did I get it wrong? But also your correct answers. So really get into these answer explanations and focus and figure out, oh, did I get that right just because I guessed, or did I get it right because I really, knew what I was doing? And then of course, there's always something in here. You might learn a different way of doing things. And of course, there might be you might know of a quicker way to do things. That's fine. If it's quicker than what we say here, do your thing. If you got it right and you know why you got it right, totally fine. Okay. So that's how you would do that. Then of course, let me go back to my study companion. Same thing on Tuesday. You're going to go in and do the second section of the book and then the practice problems, evaluate your correct and incorrect answers, and then see where you need to go. Now, if you're super low on these practice problems, let's say I go into the math here and I bombed this, this numbers and quantity. It was not good. Okay, fine. Go back and study again. Go on YouTube, find some questions or find some videos that you can see this explained. Maybe you screenshot it and you send it to us, info@navaed.com, and Jeremy will work it out on our Tuesday night math sessions. It gives him some content to do. It's it makes life easy on us when we do these free webinars for you to be like, hey, I need number 2 in the study guide on page 43, or take a screenshot, because then I don't have to make up math problems. So we really like it actually. So if let's say this one here, number 2, you're totally stumped on this one right here, screenshot it, send it to us, and we'll work it into one of our live sessions. All right. So that's one way to do it. And then go back in, work on the numbers and quantity, then go back here, look at your skills, see how you do. And you're going to do that now for all the sections here. Then Friday, you're going to review your skills, and you might do practice test 2 at that point. All right, let's say, okay, I'm done with all 3 of my sections here. And now what I'm going to do is that's data, probability, and statistics. Please hold. That's practice test 1. Let's go to, this should be 2. There we go. So now I've done the whole thing. I'm going to do practice test 2. Or maybe since I didn't look at my answers and I just scored my practice test 1, and I really want to save my practice test because you guys like love your practice tests. I understand. Maybe I go back to practice test 1 because all I did was score it and I did not look at the answers. I just looked to see what I got wrong. I didn't circle the correct answer. I just marked it wrong. Maybe I take it again and measure my skills again. That's really, really important. That will help you out tremendously. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you looked at the answer explanations, and that's okay too. Use practice test 2 as your post test. Either way, you're going to be incrementally going up. All right. Then you do practice test 2. Let's say, let me go to practice test 2. Is this it? Yep. We do practice test 2. You're getting there. You're still a little low, but you're better than you were on practice test 1. Well, now you go in, you review our YouTube channel, and I'm going to show you how to do that at the end. I'm going to show you all the resources you can see here. Review the math YouTube playlist. Maybe you attend our Tuesday math live sessions. You're going to keep reviewing those skills with the book. There's so much content in the book. Keep going and review your practice tests. Maybe do them again. Maybe do the ones that you got wrong again. Math is a lot of muscle memory, doing it again and again and again and again. Okay. And then finally, the last Friday, maybe this is week 2, maybe it's week 3, because you broke up the sections of the book in 2 days. Maybe you did first section of the book was Monday, Tuesday. Maybe the second section of the book was Wednesday, Thursday. That would pull this plan out to 3 weeks. Totally fine. And then this final Friday, you're going to do practice test 3, and that's going to be the thing that determines whether or not you're ready to go. And let's just go to practice test 3. Sorry for the scroll again, right here. And this one's going to determine if you are good. If you get it, I recommend a 70 to an 80% to be good to go on this test. With the Praxis core, you can score a little bit lower, but I like to always be in the position of I'm scoring higher in my practice so that I'm ready on test day. Okay. And that's where I think you should be, between a 70 and an 80. If you're above that, fantastic. If you're below that, you're not ready. Don't waste your money on the test yet. Keep working. All right. Now that's how you do the math. Now I'm going to open up my chat, and I am going to go to Facebook in a minute. Okay, let's just try to go here. Good morning, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so you have the old books. That's fine too. There's 2 practice tests in the old book. So if you have the old Praxis core, there's 2 practice tests. Now, if you want the new book, you may want it. There's an offer code. It's going to be core 20. We'll get you 20% off. But if you're like on a budget, fine. Just use the old book. Just do practice test 1 as a pre-test, and then do your practice test 2 as a post-test. It's just that this new book has just so much more math in it. Okay, still recording. This new book has so much more math in it. Okay, let's go here. Does it allow calculators? Yes, it's an on-screen calculator. That's one thing I didn't mention in the practice. You may want to pull up that calculator on your computer, because that's how you're going to have to do it on test day. You don't get one of these where you can just punch, punch, punch. I often tell people to ask for a handheld calculator, but with Praxis, they probably won't give it to you. All right. Some tests that are not Praxis they do online, which is hard. You're using the mouse. Okay. And it is very basic. It's a very basic calculator, and we have it in the book. First language is Spanish during the test. Am I allowed to translate? I don't think you can get a translator. However, you might be able to apply for extra time. So definitely check that out. Okay, I'm only going to talk about Praxis course. Someone's got a pre-K3 question. Yes, pre-K3, if you're doing pre-K3 or early childhood, you can use this method with the book, do the pre and the post and all of that. It still works, okay? You can do this for any test. I'm just focusing on Praxis core. You want to measure your skills for any test, okay? Okay, here we go. What is an unofficial math score of 116? I'm not sure if that is, which you're saying math, if that's a Praxis math, that's That's pretty low. You may be interpreting your scores, but you really want to be, it depends on the state, but you're looking at around high 140s to mid 150s. And that is about 60%, 65%. You can miss a lot of questions and still pass. However, I really want you guys to get to a 70 or a 75 before you go in and take this exam. I would say a 75 is the safe zone, okay? All right. So I've taken my Praxis exam. This is my 5th time. I'm frustrated. I just found out about NavaEd. Welcome. Thank you so much. I passed math and reading, just can't seem to get writing. Well, we're about to go to writing in a minute. I'm going to show you how to tackle that writing. All right. Let me just zoom over here to Facebook and see what we got going on the Facebook page and make sure people, and then YouTube, I can't see the comments until that. Give me 1 second, guys. Just want to check my Facebook comments, make sure everybody's good there. Okay, how to remember the formulas. Now listen, I put in the book that you need to memorize the formula sheet just in case you don't get one. But then I got a message from somebody that says you definitely do get a formula sheet. So you should get a formula sheet, but I still recommend really getting to know those formulas. And that comes with practice. This lady is amazing. Well, thank you, Erica Jones. Welcome. Love it. Okay. So it looks like we're okay in here. Let me just make sure. Let me check YouTube real quick. I hate leaving people behind. I don't like to leave people without their questions answered. So let me just go to YouTube really quickly here. Good morning. I'm taking my first practice Monday. I am nervous. Any tips? Well, this whole webinar is tips. So stay in the webinar. And the writing, someone's asking questions about the writing. We're doing that right now. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I'm going back to sharing my screen. And we're moving to, go here, sorry. We are moving to the writing. Now, again, I'm going backwards. You would start with reading, then writing, then math, but I'm going towards the bigger pieces of the test and working my way backwards. You know, from my videos, I always work backwards. It's just kind of the way I do things. You can work any way you want, all right? But now we're gonna focus on the writing. Now, here are some things about the writing. Let me pull up my study plan here. Now, for this study plan, I recommend doing the grammar first. That's not how it is on the test. In the study companion, it's the writing task, the essay first. The reason why I recommend doing the grammar first is because the better you get at grammar, the better writer you're going to be. And it just makes sense to focus those grammar skills really well before you go in and try to write a huge essay. That's my own opinion. All right. So we're going to work on grammar first, but just know you get the essay first. Okay. Now let's go to real quick, what we're going to do for the grammar, it's going to be a lot like the math. We're going to take a pre-test and we're going to measure our skills. So we're going to work on practice test 1, perhaps cold. Maybe you already read through something. Just do it again. It's fine. Take practice test 1. Where are you on practice test 1? And score it. Remember, time yourself. How long did it take you to finish? And then based on the content categories, what stumped you the most? Now, there are only 2 practice tests for this section. So I recommend, if you really want to keep doing practice tests, don't look at the answer. Don't circle the correct answer when you grade it. Just mark it wrong, mark it wrong, mark it wrong. All right. That way you go back and retake it and you can get a good measure on if you've increased your score. All right. So let's go to the writing here. All right. Now, again, it's going to start with, you can see here, text types and purposes, and this is the argumentative essay and the source-based. I'm going to skip down for now, and I'm going to start with our multiple choice. Please work on that grammar. Sometimes I see people's writing and I'm like, well, they're like, I can't pass the writing. And I see why, because there's a lot of grammatical mistakes. Good grammar, even though they're not grading your grammar, like it's not part of the rubric, those graders are English teachers, okay? And if they see good grammar, you're gonna be in their good graces. So, you know, nothing pleases me more than good grammar. So if you've seen my videos, you know that. So let's go here. So we've got, it's broken up again. So here's the grammatical relationships. And again, sorry to be all around there. We've got all of the specifications underneath grammatical relationships taken directly from the study companion. And notice that we cover it all here. Anything that is here, anything covered in the study companion, we cover in our book. So make sure you read this part of the book. Let's go back. Sorry, I had to get to. So all of this is here. And then when you scroll down, let me go here. Then there are 10 practice problems just for that. All of these here are just about grammatical relationships. This will help you focus your skills. All right. This is really important. No other book does this, by the way. We're the only one that does this from what I know. I may be wrong. I could be wrong on that one, but I'm going to go with it. And then we have structural relationships. Again, got our fanboys. And I love this book so much. I'm obsessed with grammar, you guys know. And I love our little brackets and our arrows. We work really hard on these, and our InDesigner, he's amazing. He's in Germany, I think. He does such a good job on these books. And you're also, we also have these quick tips here. This is going to help you. These quick tips and test tips. I tell you, like, the way it's assessed, the traps, things you want to look for. So please be sure to read through this whole book. So go to the structural relationships, and boom, you've got 10 questions here. And that goes on and on and on throughout the entire thing. Again, you've got your answer explanations, very comprehensive and detailed answer explanations here. You're going to want to make sure you look through those. Now, let me go back to my study plan so I stay on track. So we took practice test 1, we scored it, and we looked at the content categories to see where we were low, all right, just to give us an idea. Then Monday, we go through the first section of the book and then the practice problems. Tuesday, second section and the practice problems. Wednesday, third, fourth, and fifth. Fourth and fifth is kind of short, so I put them all under one day here. Now, again, you might be like, grammar's my worst thing ever. I'm terrible at grammar. Okay, maybe you take Monday and Tuesday to go through the first section of the book. Wednesday and Thursday, the second section. Friday and Saturday, the third section. Whatever you want to do, this is just a suggestion, but many people like to check off their study plan. A lot of you are like obsessed with lists, your teachers. So I'm sure you have like sticky notes galore all over the place. This is for you to adapt however you want to do it. All right. Then what you're going to do is either take the practice test 1 again, after you've gone through this whole thing, score it. I can't see you going down. The only place I can see you is going up, unless you're like already high, score it. Then evaluate those answer explanations. Why did I get it wrong? Why did I get it right? Because you may be guessing on that grammar. You may not know, like you may say, oh, because it sounded correct. That's not the way you work through grammar. Grammar has rules just like math. It has rules just like math. There is a formula and a reason why we do things in these sentences. It is not because it sounds correct. It's because it is correct based on grammatical rules, just like rules in algebra and geometry and everything else. You want to make sure you know those rules. And I go through all of them in the book. All right. So you may retake, let's see here. I'm going to scroll on this side here. Let me find it. So you already took practice test 1, but you're going to retake it if you want. And then maybe you go back in, fix up your skills anywhere where you're low. Then finally, you're going to go to practice test 2, and you're going to do that, take a score, and evaluate your answer choices here, reading the answer explanations, really thinking about why you got something correct or incorrect, and then deciding, am I ready or am I not ready? And then if you're not ready, you go back in, and if you're ready, good to go, do it. All right. So the second part of the writing is going to be the essays. All right. So now this tends to give people the most problem. However, if you can get those extra points in the grammar, it'll help pull you along in the essay. The good news about Praxis Core is that the writing is a combined score of essay and the multiple choice. So get those points where you can. Now, let's talk about the argumentative essay. So on Monday, we're going to read the argumentative essay section, and we're going to do some practice prompts. And notice I have Tuesday, you're going to practice, Wednesday, you're going to practice. Thursday, you're going to practice. Friday, you're going to practice. Okay. Another pep talk. I often get emails, people saying, I've taken the writing 5 times and I can't pass. And that is extremely frustrating. And I completely understand how, like, it's awful. You spend all this money and you're not getting there. But then usually 9 times out of 10 times when I ask, what are you doing to practice your writing? The person has no idea. What the person says usually is, well, I watched your YouTube video. Okay, good. Watch the YouTube video. But are you writing every day? Are you practicing your writing every day? Remember, incremental practice over time is going to help you. You don't necessarily have to write an essay every day, but you could do just the details, just write the detail paragraphs, or practice your intros, practice writing those intros, or practice coming up with a thesis statement. Whatever it is, you gotta practice. Watching one video on writing, if you're struggling with writing, is not gonna help. And now some of you whose first language is not English, this is so difficult. And I am in awe of you guys. Like, if you took me and put me in another country and asked me to write an essay, and I do tests for a living, I would not be able to do it. All right, so if English is your second language, you also need to write every single day. Okay, incremental practice over time. And the new book has a lot of prompts in it, so it will help you. Now, pep talk over. Let's go back. I just want to make it clear, like, you can't just watch a video and then, hope for the best. You got to write. You got to write, and you got to do it on the computer. And I would shut off your grammar check and your spell check, which I think is so ridiculous, you guys, because in life, we have grammar check and spell check. Like, I just think it's so unrealistic to not have that, but whatever. I'm not the one in charge. Obviously, I'm not the one in charge, because if I were, things would be different. Let me tell you what. Okay. Of course, I think I know it all, right? Like Bethany Frankel says, maybe I know it all, but I don't know it all. All right. So let's talk about this. On Monday, we're going to read the argumentative essay section. Let's go check that out now. Let me go back here. It's all the way up at the top, isn't it? Yes, it is. Hold, please. Okay, so this is the argumentative section. Again, this is the test specification here. So this has everything in it, and we cover everything here. Now, the second thing you really have to think about, especially for those of you who are struggling, is the rubric. A lot of people don't even look at this. They just hope for the best and they write their essay. No. You got to write for this task. It's very different than just writing. Some people say, oh, I'm a great writer and I can't pass this test. Well, you might be a great writer, but you got to write to this task. So we want to be at a score of a 4. This shows competence. This is like a passing score. Could you be a 5? Yes. Could you be a 6? Sure. But we're not trying to be the next great American author here. We're trying to pass this test and get on with our lives. So if you can just focus on the 4, you're going to be good to go. There's a couple of differences between a 3 and a 4. Lots of people get this 3 here from their graders. And usually it's because they don't use specifics in their essay and they don't keep their essay organized. That's usually the main reasons. Now, I have a bunch of videos on the essay. I'm going to show you how to get them later, but that's really important. So use this rubric here to grade your own essay. All right, so it's Monday. I'm starting my essay section. Couple things here. This part of every prompt is going to be the same no matter what. So on test day, you don't have to sit there and waste 10 minutes reading this. Here's what it's saying. You have 30 minutes to do the argumentative essay. You have to write on the topic that's given to you here. And then it says what you should do. Consider the topic, organize your thoughts, take care to write clearly and effectively, blah, blah, blah. Okay? That's what this says. On test day, when you get this, you can skip over this section because it's right here and you've read it 100 times. All right? So that'll save you a couple of minutes, and you need those minutes. Now, you're also going to have your scratch paper. When you practice at home, practice organizing your thoughts, starting from the beginning and just, Going through this thing is not going to work. And again, I have a whole video series that's free that shows you how to do this. We also have a writing course that goes even more in depth, but there's a free video for this as well. Now, here's how it's going to work. You're always going to get this opinion here. It's usually going to be fairly like one-sided. It's going to be easy for you to either agree or disagree. And then you're going to write your response. So here's my suggestion on how to do this. On day one, you're going to read this, and then you're going to read the sample essay, and then you're going to read why it is good. Why is it a 4? Well, it's a 4 because of this, 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 and this. All right. Then I recommend you write to this essay. Yes, you already have this information from my essay in your head. That's okay. This is just a practice essay. Write it. See how quickly you get through it. Time yourself. Can you do it in 30 minutes? If not, how long did it take you? All right. Then what I want you to do is there's another one here. The next day, you're going to try this sample prompt. This is prompt number 2. I have a 3-paragraph essay here. There's several ways to write this essay. I have a 3-paragraph essay here. This will work too. I show you why it's a 4, and then I show you a non-example of why it's a 3 or less. Take a look at that. But what I would do for this, before you read my essay here, I would read this and write your own essay. Okay. Then go to the rubric. Score your writing based on the rubric. Don't just go, oh, I think this is good. Well, you know, there's a whole measure here. You need to use the rubric. Another thing is, if you are grading your own essays, you don't have somebody to look them over for you, which is probably the reality for most of you. Put that essay down for at least a few hours, because if you reread an essay you just wrote, you're gonna gloss over some of the mistakes. I even say put it down and for the next day, like put it down for a day and go back to it. Because again, if you reread it after you just wrote it, you know what you were trying to say. So that kind of influences you and you might give yourself a higher score. So put it down, go do something else, revisit it the next day and see how you do. Be honest with yourself. Are you in this 4 range or are you not? If the essay doesn't make sense to you, if you have trouble reading over a sentence, then the grader is also going to have that problem. Okay. So really think about that. And then for all the following days, let's keep going here. We have 10 additional argumentative writing prompts. That means you could write 20 essays here, because you could write pro or agree to 1, disagree to 2, agree to 2, disagree to 2, agree to 3, disagree to 3. You can write this from 2 perspectives here, which really helps you with writing. So for those of you who are like, I can't pass the writing, what can I do? Write every single day, 30 minutes a day. Or if you're like, I can't do that, I can't commit to that. Okay, fine. Write maybe 15 minutes a day and just write your details. Don't worry about your intro. Your intro kind of, and you'll see from my videos, your intro is kind of driven by the prompt anyways. If you can get really good at writing those detail paragraphs, you're going to be good to go. So there's 10 argumentative writing prompts there. Use them, 1 a day. I am telling you, if you write 1 a day and then grade your writing based on the rubric, you're going to get better. But if you just watch a video and you hope for the best and you go in, you're like, man, this is the 5th time I've taken the test, but you haven't changed your approach. Remember, nothing changes if nothing changes. Okay. So commit. If you really want to pass that writing, commit. I put 10 prompts in there, and writing to the side that you don't necessarily agree with is a really good exercise, because it helps you in your writing. All right. So that's something you can do there. Okay. Let's go to the source-based, and then I'll take some questions. Okay. Now with the source-based, let's go back to my study plan, make sure I'm on track. Okay. So we read argumentative essay section. And then for this, I just did a week-long plan here. So maybe you're like, after prompt 3, you're good. Like you've done enough practice. You feel good. Your essay's fine. Maybe you're still struggling. Well, then you need to go Next day, prompt 5, next day, prompt 6, next day, prompt 7. There's 10 of them there. So you could pull out this study plan. Do I think you should write 3 prompts a day? No, only 1 prompt a day. Stretch this out over time. You get better by incremental practice over time. That's the key, okay? Now let's go to source space. A lot of people get freaked out by the source space, but I actually think it's easier than the argumentative because they give you everything you need to write this exam. All right, so on Monday, we're gonna read, let's go to my writing section here. Sorry, let me go, here we are, source-based. It's called the informative explanatory text, but that's the source-based. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna focus in on this rubric, same thing as the argumentative, but this rubric's a little bit different because it's a different task. Remember, you only have 30 minutes for this, so you gotta keep it short and sweet, and you gotta practice to keep it under that time. And I have the steps to writing it here because the source space is kind of crazy. And if you stick to these steps, it'll be really good. Again, in the directions of the prompt, once you read this once in our book, you do not have to read it again on test day. And this is quite a lot. So this will save you maybe 2-3 minutes, which are valuable, valuable time. So once you really understand what's going on here, you don't have to read that on test day. What you do have to read on test day, which is very important, is the assignment. Because remember, the assignment is what outlines the issue. There's a lot of good information in here that you use to write your intro, okay? And again, I have a whole video on how to do this essay. Right now, I'm just showing you how to use the book. Here are your sources, source 1 and source 2. It's basically mini essays written by other authors here. And here, remember, based on my strategy, you are not going to read these. You are going to figure out little pieces that you can pull from each one. You do not have to read this whole thing to finish this task. Again, reference my source-based essay writing video because this is going to take you too long. Oops, sorry about that. This is going to take you too long. And I show you how to do all that. And then I have a sample. So you're going to want to read through all of that. Okay. You're going to want to read through all of that. And then I show you why it's a 4. Now I want you to go back, just like with the argumentative. Now you try your turn. Same sources here. Try your own way. See how you do. All right. Maybe you combine. Maybe 2 paragraphs here, 2 detailed paragraphs is too much for you. Maybe you combine this into 1 detailed paragraph, but you're very clear about what you're talking about. That's okay too. That's okay as well. All right. You got to figure it out. And then I show you why this is a score of a 3. Okay. Now you try it. Here's what I want you to do on the following day. Next day. Let's go. Next day. Source-based practice prompt 1. Monday, you read it. You did an essay. That's it. Put it down. Go do something else. Like take a rest. Tuesday, come back, or the following day, whatever day it is, come back. Now you're going to practice. You may want to review a little bit, but now it's your turn to go in. Here's, I left off some of the information, but you know what it says here, read both passages carefully. This is all the same as it is on test day. You know what to do, but this is very important here. You want to, for sure, read that. And then this is not me being self-promotion. it's hard to find work out there that we can copy and put in our books. And so this is from my dissertation, just so you know. And then you read, well, you don't read all this, remember, you don't have to, but then you are going to write your source-based essay based on what we talked about in the book. Then you might want to read this one here to check. What are you going to do when you grade your essay? You're going back to the prompt to see how you did. All right, that's really, really important. And then I have extra source-based prompts here for you. Another one. So you really have, let's go back to the study plan. You have 2 more source-based prompts here. Now, source-based prompts are huge and they're really hard to write. So we only have 2 here in the book, but you can reuse them over and over again. And you can just, find 2 opposing opinions and do that. It's very, very easy. Now, remember, you're going to read your essays back to yourself and you're going to score them. You're not going to read them on the same day or within the same hour of writing them. You want to take a break from them. All right. You want to take a break and then reread them later. Okay. All right. So that completes the writing section. I'm almost on time. I'm probably going to run up 10 minutes over. Sorry, guys. All right. Let me take some questions here. There's a lot of you guys talking to each other. So I'm just going to try to look down here. Looks like you guys are all answering each other's questions. Thank you very much. Do you have example prompts in the old book? We do, but we don't have as many. Now, the new book, you can purchase just the writing and it's like $19.99. And with the offer code, it's like $17. Totally worth it for those prompts. But we do have some, but obviously the new book is better than the old book. We keep getting better and better. And I know it's just like the iPhone. If you bought the iPhone, like I always buy the iPhone at the wrong time. They just came out with a new iPhone and I need like another year before I should buy another one, you know, and it's just kind of the way it is. But the book's only $19.99 with the offer code. It's super cheap. It's worth it if you want it. You know, I understand it's kind of annoying if you bought the book a year ago or whatever, but I can't promise you that the old books are going to be as good as the new books. Okay. But you can still do what I'm talking about here with the old book. We just don't have as many practice prompts. I'm so happy I found NavaEd. I'm so happy you found us too. Thank you. Is it easier to study with a physical or digital book? That just depends. It just depends. A lot of people like a physical book. Usually my younger clients don't mind a digital book. Usually my older clients prefer a physical book. It just depends what you want to do. Okay. Do you have any practice tests online for writing? Is it too late for me to purchase the book now? I purchased the Praxis to Elementary Education. I have those. Where can I find writing prompts? You can find our writing prompts in the book. So if you want to purchase the book, it's not too late. There's a code and everything. So you're fine there. Do you offer instructor-led classes? Okay, let me talk about this really quickly. We do not have face-to-face instructor-led classes because we don't have enough time. I'm the only one running the company, so I don't have enough time in the day to do one-to-one sessions. I just can't do it. The other thing I don't do, and a lot of people call and ask me this, or they email, they're like, hey, can you look at my essay real quick? And I understand you need help with your essay, but if I said yes to all the requests to look at essays, I literally would not be able to do anything else except look at essays. And it's not really quick. It's a 20 to 30 minute task. So we don't do that at this time because we don't have the staff and it's just me and I'm trying to do all these things. But I do recommend maybe giving it to your teacher leader maybe, or the English teacher, asking your English teacher if she's not busy, she might be busy or he may not be busy. Or just looking it over yourself using that rubric. Okay. So that's really important. I would, sometimes we used to do more one-to-one when we first started, but now we have so many clients, we just can't, there's not enough time in the day to do that. So we might do some small stuff. I will definitely be doing more webinars, but that's just kind of the way it is here. I have the writing exam on Monday. That is why I asked for the writing prompt online. Well, you can get the digital book. Oops, sorry guys. You can get the digital book and it will come to you as soon as you order it. It's immediate. You don't have to get the physical. You can order the writing digitally. Okay. All right. Let's talk. Let me just go over to Facebook. I don't want to neglect Facebook or YouTube. I've been getting tutoring on my math, been studying for a while, praying I pass. I bet you're going to crush it, Abby. Just think positively. This book gave me a great confidence in the ELS. I got it a week before I took the test. I will study and retake the test. Good. Yes. The ELS is grammar. So the book is definitely going to help you with grammar. Let me jump over here to Facebook comments. Sorry, guys. I bought your course for essay. I need to pass this. Good. I also passed the English, but now I need your help for media K-12. We don't have anything for media K-12 at the moment. It seems Praxis is similar to GACE. Yes, GACE. GACE is exactly the same as Praxis. And usually when people order our GACE book right now, I'm sending them the Praxis book because it's exactly the same. So order the new book if you're a GACE person. It's the same test written by the same company. Same. Okay. Is the test only given with all three domains? Can you break it up? Yes, you can take it one section at a time. You can. And if you pass one and you don't pass another, you don't have to take the whole thing again. You only take the ones you pass. All right. Okay, let's hit reading so we can all go relax by the pool or whatever. I'm in Florida. I don't know where you guys are. I'm definitely going to relax by my pool today. Let's hit the reading really quickly. Oh, one more thing about reading. You have to practice your reading. Reading is like running. You cannot just get up off the couch after being on the couch for 6 months and go run a marathon, okay? You need to get off the couch incrementally every day, just like I talked about with writing, and work those skills. Run a mile, then run 2 miles, then run 3 miles, then rest your body, then go out, run 3 miles, run 3 miles, run 3 miles, then rest, then maybe up your mileage, maybe try to run it faster. It's the same thing with reading. You cannot just not read and then go in and think you're going to pass a reading test, okay? Now, reading can be done a couple of different ways. First, you can just make sure you're reading a lot online. We are a bunch of scrollers. We like to scroll through our feeds and stuff. Try to click on the article and actually read it. And it could be something you like, and try to read things you don't normally read. That will help you out tremendously. I just posted a reading video on YouTube last night that goes through all of that. So I highly recommend you take a look at that. Maybe not today because you're already doing this webinar, but another day. And so that will really help you. The other thing is you must read incrementally every night. I recommend 20 minutes a day. Just like you would say to your students, 20 minutes a day, please read 20 minutes a day. Now we have several prompts in our book, but you might need more. And you can use released SAT and ACT practice tests. And I show you how to do that in that video, how to get free reading practice tests. I posted it yesterday. If you're watching live, if you're watching this in the future, it's on our YouTube channel in the reading playlist. All right. So that's really important. You can get more practice there. Okay. So let me share my screen. Let's go to reading. Now, some of you need more practice with reading than others. We're going to be in this here, and let me go to my, here we go. Okay, so some of you may need, let's go up to reading. Here we are, more practice than others in reading. Some of you have been struggling with reading your whole life. Totally understandable. It's hard. Reading comprehension exams are hard, and especially if English is not your first language. So if it's not, try to get that extra time. Because again, if you plopped me into another country and I had to take a reading test in another language, I would not be able to do it. Okay. So, you guys are already awesome just for even being able to get any score on a reading test where English is not your first language. So we're going to take the first practice test on reading. Okay. So let's go to the reading. So we're going to do practice test 1 cold. We're going to see where we are. Maybe you're one of those who's just really good at reading practice tests. Fine. Great. You got a good score. You got like an 80%. You're doing good. You may just want to review these parts of the book, take practice test 2 and move on with your life. Go take it. But if you're someone who struggles, this is where you can do some intensive practice. So practice test 1, notice that we have short passages. We have longer passages. We have graphs. We have, let me just scroll down here. We have even longer passages. We also have very, very long passages like this one here. On the Praxis core, you're going to have short, mid-length, long, double passages, and graphs and charts. We have them all here. We cover them all here. So we took this practice test, and you know what? Maybe I don't look at the answer choices yet, the answer explanations yet. There's 60 or 56 questions here. Maybe I just grade it because I want to save it for a post-test. Fine, grade it. Don't look at your, don't look at the answers. Don't circle the correct answers. Grade it, put it to the side, measure your skills, and then figure out, okay, where am I here? What's my score? Give yourself a percentage. How long did it take? Time yourself. How long did it take? And what questions stumped you the most? All right. Or maybe which passages stumped you the most? All right. Then ask yourself a couple questions. Based on my score, I feel that I need intensive practice because I am not comfortable with this test, or just some regular prep and a little practice. There's pretty much 2 people in this world when it comes to the reading: people who need intensive help with reading, and people who just need to brush up because they're already readers and they don't get test anxiety about reading. Okay. Now let's go to step 3. Here we go to prepare. I've already taken my practice test 1. I've gotten my score. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking over my book now. In the very, very beginning, I talk about the types of reading passages, and I show you a strategy for reading. We're always reading the questions first, always reading the questions first. You are doing yourself a disservice if you start from the top and work all your way down to the bottom. It is the wrong way to do a reading test. And I have so many videos on that. Okay, so definitely check those out. And it's in the book, how to do it. I go through the double passages. I do everything here and I look that over. Now let me see on the study plan, where are we? So we're doing the first and second section of the book. So this first section is just the types of passages you're going to get. And you take a look at some questions there. And then we move to content category 1, key idea and details. Again, this is all from the test specifications and we cover everything. Now here's the thing. ACT and SAT cover the exact same skills here. Every reading test covers key idea and details. So that's main idea, that's supporting details, that's inference. All of that is key idea and details. Then I have some sample questions, just like we did in the writing, the grammar and the math. There are some sample questions here that go with just key idea and details. So make sure you take a look at those and evaluate that. I have so many cautions here on the reading exam, traps that they do to you on the reading exam. So read all these little call out boxes. Personally, I love this part of the book. These are all quick tips, test tips, caution, think about it. All of those things are really helpful when you go to take it on test day. So again, we have passages, sample questions, little things to think about there. And that's really what the sample questions are. It's not done the same way because it's kind of hard to take a passage and just write 10 key idea and details questions. Usually one passage has like key idea and details, structure, and all the other stuff. So that's how it's laid out here. Then the next day, I put it down, I go to bed or I go watch TV. I'm done for the day. I did my practice for the day. Now I'm going to craft structure and language skills the following day. I'm reading all this. I'm looking over all this. I'm reading some of my samples here. I'm seeing how these test questions are kind of laid out. I'm looking for patterns, really thinking like a test maker here, seeing where I can, evaluate those patterns, working backwards by reading the question first and then reading reading the questions first, then reading the passage so that I'm really focused on the task, all of that stuff, taking a look at all the different types of text structures, working through sample, here we go. This is a long one. I mean, we have a lot of samples here, you guys. Every time I scroll through it, I just love this new book so much. I'm really proud of it. And then I go put it down and I take a rest and I come back to it the next day. And then I do integration knowledge of ideas. This is section 3. And this has to do with your charts and graphs and things like that. This is also assessed in math and the probability and statistics part. They do it more from a math perspective, but you have to learn to read graphs there as well. And you go through all of that, you work through, we've got sample questions here, all different types of sample questions here. They also do infographics. So we have some infographics here, working through our practice test questions. And now I'm ready to either go back and redo practice test 1, see how I score, or go straight to practice test 2 and see how I score. You may want to leave practice test 1 so you can kind of forget it, you know what I mean? And go to practice test 2 to measure your skills based on what you've done. Guaranteed you've gone up. If you've stretched this thing out over a week and you've been in this test for a week, trying different things, reading those mini passages, working through it all, that's going to be the key there. All right. And then score yourself. Really read those answer explanations. On the reading, the answer explanations help very much because you might think something is one thing and I tell you why it's not that, why it's a trap, why you should avoid it, what the patterns are, how to think like a test maker. That's going to really help you here. All right, so that's the reading. Now, let me go. I'm going to just talk a couple things. I'm going to be over here in my chat and then we're going to call it a day. Couple of things with reading. incremental over time. With all of it, incremental over time. Stretch this out. Don't just cram. Now, you might be one of those people who's like, look, I get the book, I work through the book, I'm good. I do it in like a week or a weekend. I'm going to take the test. Fine. Like, that's totally fine. But if you're someone who is struggling and you really need to like work each skill, you gotta stretch this out over time. And I recommend taking it one subtest at a time. So maybe you are really struggling with math, focus on math. Maybe English is easy for you. Well, maybe go take the test, take English, get it out of the way, get the grammar out of the way. Then you can focus on the math. You have to figure out what works for you. Everybody has different skills and things like that. Okay. But definitely incremental practice over time is what's going to help, because the reason, and I say this to my ACT kids too, I don't prep ACT anymore, but I used to. I'd rather you do 5 math problems a day. And just, even if you break up that practice test at the end, do 5 math problems a day. What does that do? It keeps your head in the exam. It keeps you in the Praxis core mindset. You're thinking about it. You're doing it every single day. Keep your head in the game every day, and you're going to do well here. All right. All right. Okay. Someone said they just failed the writing. I really struggled with the source-based. Ari, I don't know if you've seen our videos on that, but that'll help. Also, we have practice prompts in the book. You may want to get that. Or if you already have the book, rewrite, write again, write to the prompts again, keep trying, set that timer, set the timer, see how you're doing there. I have the writing exam Monday. Oh, we already talked about that. My biggest struggle is with reading. My whole life I've done FCAT. Oh, I know. That's what I did my dissertation on, is the problem with high stakes assessments. I'm so used to writing in the passages to get the answers, since this is a computer test. Okay, the reading computer test, you can't write on it, but you have a scratch paper. So, and I've done this in my reading webinar, use the scratch paper to write down important information as you read. Use the scratch paper to write down important information in the questions. I go to the questions first. All right, this seems like an interesting question. Write down 2 or 3 words from the question. And then go in and read. Use that scratch paper, you guys, and when you study at home and you simulate the test at home, get a piece of scratch paper. It's there for a reason. Writing as you're working through something totally helps you do better on the exam. All right. Thank you so much. You rock. Thank you, Monica. You rock too. Let me go over to Facebook and just see where we are. Do you have a study guide for birth through childhood? I do not at this time. We do have early childhood 5025, but we do not have one for birth to 4, whatever the test is. What is GACE? GACE, that is the Georgia test. Sometimes states have their own assessments. GACE happens to call it GACE, but it is the Praxis core. I've studied it. It's the same exact test as the Praxis core. I promise you. All right. Now, let me show you real quick where we can find some free resources to go with this webinar. Just quickly, let me go to our website. Of course, is the best place to get a lot of free stuff. Under this thing here, free webinars. Here are all of our free webinars. Notice we have Praxis Core Reading. We have a grammar webinar and then an essay. I broke them up because it's really essentially 2 tests. They are 1 test, but in real life, it's 2. Then I have 2 math. I have one that focuses on probability and statistics and another one that focuses on the whole math. So definitely check that out. I have some, if you're working on your subject areas, I've got Praxis 2 and Praxis Elementary. Or early childhood. And then we have all the PLTs, you guys. This program's really good. I'm obsessed, and I'm working crazy hard on getting special ed finished within the next few days. I finished the book. I just have to proof it. And my InDesigner, the guy that makes it look all nice with the call out boxes and all of that, he's going to get it on Monday. And I hope to have it digitally, hopefully by the end of the week, but I can't promise, but I'm hoping for the best. Okay. The other thing is oh God, that is not a good look. Hang on, please. Our YouTube channel. Okay. Our YouTube channel is full of videos that will help you. Go to the playlist. We have test strategy, math, science, all of this. This test strategy Playlist is key. I show you how to work backwards, how to use good words, bad words, how to do all that. We've got Praxis core essay here, grammar. I have so many videos that are free, and some people just use our YouTube channel and pass. So that's good too. We also have our weekly live math sessions. Let me go back here. Weekly live math. This is my husband, Jeremy, right here. He's the most patient, kind man. I'm like crazy. He's super calm. He teaches math. And so if you get into the math book and you're like, I don't know how to do this problem, email it to us and see these presentations here. This is usually from people sending us information. So that's really important. And then inside each one, let me just show you, we have the slides. So you just go here and you get extra problems here. And we provide those to you. So we have so many free, awesome resources in math. We also have a full math program. If you go in here, if you're looking for the paid stuff, which is great, we have a whole Praxis core digital program, which is online. It's even more comprehensive than YouTube. Some people say, well, what's the difference? The paid stuff is just like so much more. Okay. And then we have our study guides here. Facebook, of course, Facebook. We have tons of videos. There's Jeremy every week for math. We did a little something here together. We have tons of things on Facebook. We also have a Facebook page for Praxis core teachers. And you'll get that all in an email when we leave here. Finally, Instagram. Let me just go to our profile here. I just posted this how to get free reading practice test, but I also really love these. I do these carousels. If you're a visual learner and you like to, look at carousels and things like that, these are really great. So definitely check out our Instagram, follow us there. If you like our YouTube channel, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, we're almost to 15,000 subscribers, which is such a big deal because I teach grammar, and to have a grammar channel or a math channel that has that many is so exciting because we're competing with people who do crazy stuff. And then of course, Facebook here, we always go live, everything we post, we announce everything here. Okay. So that is it in a nutshell. I almost made it on time, but didn't. I have to get everything in. I can't stop too early because I feel bad if I do that. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us live today. If you signed up for this and you put in your name and all of that, you're going to get an email from me in just a little bit. I'm going to list all the resources. I'm going to give you everything you need. Okay. If you did not sign up, go ahead and do so. It's in the description. It's on our website. Sign up and you will be able to grab that. This whole thing is live right now on Facebook and YouTube. So as soon as I hit stop, it's going to be available there. And then I will probably break this up into sections for later to post on our YouTube channel and things like that. I'm so glad you guys joined me today, this Saturday. Keep a lookout for special ed. It's coming up, and I will most likely do a free webinar with that once the book is ready. Okay. Thank you for your patience. I'm thinking my next book is either going to be ESOL or PE. I've been getting a lot of feedback about PE. So I'll probably send out a survey of some sort to collect some data to see where I need to be in terms of the next publication. I always like to do what most people need because that just makes sense. Okay. All right, everybody, have an awesome Saturday. Go relax. You've done enough today. Go relax in the pool. Go have tacos with your friends, whatever it is. Enjoy your day. Thank you for being an educator, and we'll see you soon.